Thank you for joining us for another Wine Club Tasting Notes video. We have your April optional shipment coming to you today, featuring our Valdegay 2013 vintage. Brian, what can you tell us about this wine?
Thanks. The Valdegay is coming out of Calistoga. It's made in a very traditional winemaking style. With Valdegay, I really like to let the fruit and the spice show. It's a relative of the Malbec family of all things, and so there's a lot of intensity you get off a wine like this. But I think a great characteristic to this wine is actually coming from the vineyard location. We have Eric Pooler today, and he can tell you a little bit about the site.
The vineyard itself is over 100 years old, one of the few Valdegay vineyards remaining in Napa Valley. Dry farmed, just southwest of Calistoga, really low yielding. The plants literally look like sticks jutting up from the soil. What we end up with is wonderful natural balance in the vineyard. We usually pick the fruit into September, 1st of October, and it just comes in beautifully.
And with that Calistoga terroir, you get a lot of the minerality of the soils there, as well as just beautiful ripe fruit characteristics on this wine. On the nose, it's spices, it's dark fruits.
Nice acid.
Yeah, beautiful acid balancing. Just a great texture. It gives you a hint of something in between like a Pinot Noir and a Malbec in terms of its intensity and its body. A really unique wine, something very special and very rare. So I hope all of you enjoy. Cheers.
Cheers.
The next wine that we're featuring for your April shipment is our 2013 Grenache.
Grenache is an ancient variety coming from both northern Spain as well as southern France, and so we work with it coming from warmer climates within Sonoma County. This particular one is from the Haas Vineyard, which Eric, can you tell us a little bit about?
Yeah, it's on the northern end of Sonoma Valley on the alluvial plain. If you look at the soil in this vineyard, it's littered with stones, very deep root systems, plants finding water naturally for the most part, minimal irrigation. The vineyard's farmed by one of the most colorful vineyard managers in all of Sonoma County, if not the world, Carmine Indendoli, and it's really a labor of love.
Grenache is often known for its spice as well as its deep, juicy fruit characteristic. We also blended in a very small amount of the old winery Syrah, located just south of Buena Vista here, in order to give it a little bit more body and length on this wine. And so on the nose, ripe raspberry, almost a raspberry jam characteristic. And then on that palate, you get that softness of Grenache. It just coats everything without any tannin intensity. Beautiful wine. Often Grenache is just with a slight bit of chill to them, is very, very pretty expression of it. So enjoy this maybe just with a little bit of coldness on it. Not quite as cold as a white wine, but definitely you want to have this as your kind of summer quenching, thirst quencher type of juicy wine. So cheers.
Another wine that we're featuring for you for your April optional shipment is the 2013 Carignan.
Carignan is a fascinating variety. Again, another ancient variety coming from that southern France, northern Spain area. It's really been planted all over the world, and in Mendocino County in particular, we find that it has a lot of characteristics that give it a uniqueness and make it a special wine to bottle on its own. Eric, you want to talk about the site?
Yeah, the vines are about 80 years old. The site itself is located just to the southwest of Ukiah, kind of in a pocket valley off of Robinson Creek Road. It's owned by Aldous and Nancy Boltons. Aldous is a well-known surgeon in Mendocino County, and they've been farming the vineyard for 20 or 30 years now. Head pruned, again, very low yielding, kind of small jutting vines, balanced every year naturally, and really an expression of the passion that Aldous and Nancy have for growing grapes and the history that they've had in Mendocino County.
So this Carignan we treat much like we did with the Grenache, where it's a very long, slow fermentation, small berries, and in vintages like 2013, we get a lot of intensity. The fruit characteristics a bit tartar, more like black cherry, as opposed to the richness you'll see off of the Grenache grape. But then you have that minerality that I think comes from the soil itself and where that vineyard's planted, and gives it a beautiful minerality as well as the balance of the acidity. So just a pretty little wine. One definitely that'll work with a bunch of different foods and on its own is quite delicious. So cheers, everyone.
The last wine that we have featured for your April optional selection is our Count Selection Mourvedre 2013 vintage. Brian, what can you tell us about this wine?
Thanks, Michelle. Mourvedre is a very late ripening grape in Sonoma County. We worked with two sites, one in the Chalk Hill area and one in the Kenwood area. Even in those warmer sections of Sonoma, it still was one of the last varieties we picked and fermented in the cellars here at Buena Vista. It is a very tannic, dark-colored grape. We cold soaked this for several days, used our traditional punch-down techniques in order to extract out that color and tannins very gently, and then let it age in a mix of French, Hungarian, and American oak for about 14 months. So this has been in barrel for quite a long time, letting those tannins nice and soften out, really accentuating the richness of this variety that it gets when it gets that nice gentle treatment. On the palate, you'll notice a lot of tannic intensity to this wine, but as well, we've made sure to just extract out those very gentle tannins, the ones that caress your tongue, not the hard, bitter ones that you sometimes see in more astringent wines. And then on the nose, Mourvedre is a very interesting variety with leathery notes, cocoa, and just a hint of some red fruits underneath all of that. One of the more exotic varieties we're working with at Buena Vista, yet a great one at the same time. Cheers, everyone.